We recently received a small piece from the final Aftermath book entitled Empire's End, which gives us some incredible insight into Palpatine and his obsession during the waning days of the Empire, as well as Snoke and the connection the two of them share. The first passage says this: "The Emperor was convinced that something waited for him out there, some origin of the Force, some dark presence formed of malevolent substance. He said he could feel the waves of it radiating out now that the way was clear. The Emperor called it a signal, conveniently one that only he could hear. Even his greatest enforcer, Vader, seemed oblivious to it. And Vader also claimed mastery over the Dark Force, did he not? Rax believed Palpatine had gone insane." In the previous Aftermath books, Palpatine believed that what he was sensing was the dark side itself, but it's interesting here that the presence seemed to actively be calling to Palpatine and beckoning for him to come and venture into unknown space. It's also extremely compelling that, as again we learned in previous Aftermath books, that Palpatine would first send his own men into unknown space rather than venture there alone. The passage also seemingly confirms something that we have all speculated for some time, but that hasn't directly been addressed yet. That being Snoke's age, if Snoke is indeed the presence Palpatine was feeling in unknown space. As he says, quote, "Origin of the Force. This is exceedingly interesting, as in the Clone Wars, Yoda ventured to a planet where he would encounter the Force Priestesses, which is referred to simply as the Force Planet. What's very interesting about this is that the planet is supposedly the homeworld for the midichlorians, or the Force, with the quote between Yoda and the Priestesses saying this: "What is this place? All that surround us is the foundation of life, the birthplace of what your science calls midichlorians, the foundation of what connects the living force and the cosmic force." So could it be that Snoke somehow came from this planet, or something connected to it at least, if he is indeed that ancient? The other, more likely option being the quote, "some origin of the Force," is just a fancy wording for having it to do with the history of the Force. Perhaps Snoke is in fact extremely old and belongs to a group that first embraced the dark side. This could simply mean extremely old rather than directly having to do with the origin of the midichlorians. Another thing I would like to address with this passage is that Vader doesn't seem to feel Snoke or the presence at all, which does puzzle Palpatine and even Rax. What this could point to is the light within Vader that still remains, and his full dedication to the dark side waning. There is also a passage that explains what one of the hidden labs on Jakku's function is, as we now learn they are referred to as observatories. Quote, "It is one of many scattered across the galaxy. All of them are laboratories, in a sense, and all of them look beyond the galaxy's margins, in different directions. Palpatine began establishing the observatories before the start of the Galactic Empire, infusing each with purpose. Some were meant to house ancient Sith artifacts, others designed to host powerful weapon designs, or weapons themselves. Others were still meant as prisons, harnessing the life forces of those captured within, for a variety of strange purposes. This one, the Jakku Observatory, has its own function. It is part of the contingency." So those are the passages, and now confirmation that Snoke, or this presence, was reaching out to Palpatine. I want to make it clear that it is never explicitly stated that Snoke is the one reaching out to Palpatine, simply a dark presence beyond the stars. So how do you guys feel about these two passages? Which one do you find to be the more interesting one, and what do you feel about Snoke, or who we think is Snoke, reaching out to Palpatine? Also, why do you think Vader couldn't feel it? Do you think it's cause he did have some light within him and only those purely embracing the darkness could feel Snoke or the presence? If you enjoyed the video and feel it deserves it, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like, as it helps the channel out a great deal. If you haven't already, maybe consider subscribing to ensure you stay up to date with everything Star Wars related. If you would like to speak to me directly and ask questions or exchange theories, you can speak to me on Twitter at Stupendous Wave. Thanks so much for watching. Leave all your thoughts in the comments or again on Twitter. May the Force be with you and have a great day.